We got Pat online too? Okay. Yeah. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 7, 2026 Urbandale City Council meeting. I will call the meeting to order and ask Angie to take roll call, please.
Bodie.
Here.
Cacciatore.
Here.
Barbary Montgomery. Here. Kroll.
Here.
Rosendahl.
Here.
Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we pause to orient ourselves to the kind of civic life we're here to practice. Civility, as we understand it, is not politeness, etiquette, or agreement. It's an inner disposition rooted in recognizing the equal human dignity of every person present, including those with whom we sharply disagree. Each of us is responsible for how we speak, how we listen, and how we conduct ourselves. We're not responsible for controlling one another's views, reactions, or conclusions. This space belongs to all of us. We will speak honestly, refrain from demeaning or coercing one another, and remain present even when the conversation is difficult. By holding one another in view as persons rather than obstacles, we sustain the trust that makes shared civic life possible in Urbandale tonight and beyond. All right, we'll move to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. We got it?
That passes.
It passes, all right, thank
Sorry.
you. Okay. All right, we are on to presentations. We have a proclamation for 2026 Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are essential to communities, including Urbandale, and whereas these programs are crucial for maintaining the quality of life, health, and economic and environmental well-being in Urbandale, and whereas parks and recreation promote healthy, active lifestyles, prevent chronic diseases, and enhance mental and emotional health. And whereas these programs boost Urbandale's economic prosperity by increasing property values, expanding the tax base, attracting tourism and businesses, and reducing crime. And whereas parks and recreation areas in Urbandale improve water and air quality, prevent flooding, provide vegetative buffers, and create wildlife habitats. And whereas they also ensure ecological beauty and offer spaces to all ages to connect with nature. Whereas the U.S. House of Representatives designates July as Parks and Recreation Month, whereas Urbandale, Iowa recognizes the numerous benefits from parks and recreation resources. So now therefore, I, Robert Andewig, Mayor of the City of Urbandale, on behalf of the Urbandale City Council, the Urbandale Parks and Recreation Department, and the entire community, do hereby recognize July as Park and Recreation Month in the City of Urbandale. And I know our esteemed Parks and Rec Director, Jan Herkey, is going to stand up and accept this. Jan? Join me up front. Do we have anybody else?
They're all out in the parks tonight.
All right. Great. You have 30 minutes, you want to say something?
Well, we certainly appreciate the recognition. It's a national recognition for Parks and Recreation Month. I do want to acknowledge, obviously, the involvement of all the other departments, the community development, police, economic development, library. We couldn't do what we do without that, and certainly all of our staff within our department makes what we do possible. So thank you for all your support as well.
Thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. We have a very fine Parks and Recreation Board and Friends of the Parks, all sorts of support folks that help us, so we want to thank them as well for everything they do for our parks. All right, we are now to public forum. This is the opportunity to address the council on something that's not a part of a public hearing on tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward. Item 5 is to adopt the minutes from the June 16, 2026 meeting.
Motion to approve June 16 minutes.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. All right, that passes. And then secondly, from the June 16 work session,
Motion to approve work session June 16
motion by
minutes.
Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And then finally, to approve the special city council meeting minutes from the June 22, 2026 meeting.
Motion to approve the June 22 meeting minutes.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. We are on to the consent agenda, and I just want to note that in item 6.7, to disregard the easement exhibit located at page 3 of 5, that was inadvertently included in the council packet. With that, we have a number, let's see, how many, we have a total of 35 items for approval. Ask for a motion on that.
Move approval of consent agenda.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, moving on to public hearings. First is public hearing 7.1, to consider the public access easement vacation for lots 2 and 3 to square a Days Run Plat 1 at 4500 to 4590 128th Street. And to introduce this is our Assistant Director of Community Development, Christy Bales. Christy?
I will start with the location. We are at the southwest corner of 128th Street and Meredith Drive. You have seen this as a site plan and a PUD amendment recently. This is where the kennel use is going to go, the dog kennel. That building is going to be a multi-tenant building that covers both of these lots, labeled as 12802 and 4500 there. The building is going to cross that access easement. It'll be a north-south orientation, so there's no longer any need for the cross-access along the frontage of this middle lot, nor where the building is going to go. They will provide circulation around the entire building with their site plan, and the internal road on the west side of the lot does exist. And we're just north of the Casey's if you need that for a reference point. The easement that is to be vacated is shown in the gray hatched area, the dark gray solid area, not the hatched area at the lower part. This is the legal description on the right and where that easement would be vacated. We did receive one call from Casey's to the south. They wanted to be clear that their cross-access easement that's shown in that diagonal hatched area wasn't going to be changed, and I affirmed that there's no change to that. It's only the gray solid area that's affected with this request. I know there was a request earlier today about the pedestrian easement. That will stay in place for that sidewalk that exists along 128th Street. So sidewalk stays in place, that easement stays in place. It's just about that teal colored, and now on this diagram, the dark shaded access easement. Brad Keel is here from Bishop to answer any questions you may have, since it is a public hearing, but I'll take any questions you may have as well.
Questions for Christy?
Was that eastern easement, like, was that meant to be like a turn lane, or like what is kind of the purpose of that?
The purpose, and I'll go back to the aerial because I think it shows a little bit better in context, because a turn lane was not allowed per the PUD master plan, that front access easement was to maintain so that the corner lot could have internal access from the internal street drive, because they can't have a right-in, right-out isn't even allowed in the Meredith Drive location, nor along 128th Street.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, did I open the public hearing? We never had a motion, okay. That's why I was just going
Motion
back. as
to open the public hearing?
Yes, thank you. There's a
Second.
okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. Okay, the public hearing is now open. We don't.
Thank you.
I'm
I
not
may
gonna
have
make you
started
repeat
talking
everything.
too
No,
soon.
no,
Sorry
that's
about
fine.
that.
No,
Okay, okay.
I got ahead of myself without opening the public hearing, so.
No, no.
So any further questions for Christie at this time from the council? Okay, if not, we are in public hearing on this matter. Would anyone like to address the council on this matter? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll. Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. Yeah.
Move approval of resolution 205-2026.
Second.
I didn't see the vote come up on the previous one. Did that pass, though? Okay. All right, so motion by Kroll, second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote.
Apologies, it is not letting me put in a second. Could you tell me who seconded that?
Joe.
Joe.
I did.
Yeah. Motion by Kroll, second by Cacciatore.
Apologies, can we voice vote that?
Sure.
Bodie?
Yes.
Cacciatore?
Yes.
Carberry Montgomery?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Rosendahl?
Yes.
That passes.
And move approval of first reading of ordinance 2026-31.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, do we do roll call on this, or?
No, this one you should be able to do.
Okay, so please vote. That passes, all right. Thank you. Moving on to item 7.2, that's to consider the Paragon Office Park Plat 2 Lot 4 Amendment to the Planned Unit Development Master Plan at 12421 Meredith Drive. The public notice for this was published in the June 19, 2026 Des Moines Register. And is there any objections to that? Notice is published.
There were none.
Motion to open this public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Christie?
Very good, thank you. We are just down the street to the east. It's very close. Still on Meredith Drive corridor. We are at, some people call it the Marsh Mercer Building. It is now known as the Crescent Building. The R&R Group has a request for an amendment to the PUD master plan for this parcel. I'm going to highlight it here only. So the Mosaic Tower and the pond are here. We are at 12421 Meredith Drive. And it's easiest to show this picture, which was included in your packet. Right now, the zoning code prohibits any wall signage above second story of any building. No matter the height of the building, the wall signage is prohibited. R&R has some tenants who would like to be on that third story, that upper story, no matter where they are in the building. And so typically the sign code limits to where your street frontage is where your wall sign goes. And so we have like a two-part request. They would like to consider, and really the diagram on the right where you can see my handwritten notes is the most important, because that's what we worked on at the P&Z hearing on this topic. The original request was to put third story signage on all the sides of the building, and you can see how the building is oriented. It's not straight toward the street. It really kind of is oriented towards that arced, that 123rd Street on the diagram. So when we talk about street frontage, it's like, well, which way's the streets are straight, but the building has a catty corner orientation. So the first request was to put wall signage on all 4 sides. Staff was not supportive of that. We were willing to put wall signage on the more prominent entrance sides, which are really the southeast orientation and the northwest orientation. At the public hearing, R&R staff asked us to ask the P&Z Commission to reconsider that, to only allow signage on the southeast orientation and the southwest orientation, so that they can take advantage more of the Meredith Drive corridors with that building. So we were marking up this drawing at the P&Z Commission. So they would forego any signage on the northwest orientation, keep it on the southwest and southeast. Essentially adds up to the same amount of square footage. They also said we wouldn't put any first or second story signage on the buildings, because they want a good looking building and they don't want a hopscotch kind of pattern of signage and that sort of thing. So really it will orient, and you can see the red arrow here in the middle is where they would want it on that southwest orientation. And then the bottom photo here is that southeast orientation, which staff was supportive of. I feel we got it worked out to a good resolution from both the city perspective and from the applicant's perspective. If you're wondering, isn't there already a sign on the 3rd story? Yes. And I'm the one who approved the sign permit. They moved the sign from that parapet area to the 3rd story. Really, we're making this right by doing this PUD amendment as well. They have a couple of tenants. If they want to share more information about that, I think they're kind of well known, but I'll let Adam talk about that if he wants. So staff is recommending approval subject to the language that you see in your staff report for that wall signage on the 3rd story only on the southeast and southwest orientations. Adam Caduce is here from R&R. Should you have any questions from him, I'll take any questions you may have first.
All right.
Christy, do we need to like change our code to address, I mean, obviously we're addressing this particular situation, but I imagine maybe we'd have more 3-story buildings in the future.
It's
would we need would that make things better, or would they all be in PUDs, or?
No, it's something that we should probably consider and explore. When we were talking about this, we were like, where are buildings that are more than 3 stories? And I came up with 2 other locations in Urbandale only. And so it's not a question we get asked very often. But certainly when we go to maybe do some updates in the sign code, we should explore that as well. We have interstate signage that kind of takes care of some of this when you're on the interstate, but when we don't have interstate frontage, you're limited to that 2nd story. So it's something we should explore. But it was faster to go through the PUD route than overhaul a sign code. And we're supportive of it, kind of thing. So I think it'll be a good product.
Any other questions for Christy?
When we talk about signage or sign area may be transferred from one wall to another, that's just like we want to move the sign from one spot to a different spot, or is that, what does that look like?
It's more where the tenant is located. So no matter where the tenant is located in this building, they can put their wall signage with R&R approval as well on either the southwest or the southeast orientation. So if they're up, they have a corner office, if you see the diagram, like in the tippy top northwest corner, they can still transfer their allowable wall signage to one of those frontage. They don't have to have street frontage on Meredith if they're at a different corner of the building. So that's what we mean when we talk about the transfer.
Got it. Okay.
And then we're not going to get into like who has which square footage or space or that sort of thing. They have some tenant guidelines at what point you qualify for a wall signage. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to cap the signage. So no matter where you are in the building, from our perspective, you can be on there as long as you have their authorization as well.
Gotcha. And the square footage per side, southwest and southeast, that's basically just like however many signs you can fit as long as you're within that square footage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we took the length of the facade times 2, which is the typical square footage. So it's a linear foot of the street frontage times 2 for your square feet. And that's how we got to that number. And then they can arrange it how they want to. If someone wants to be on the far side here or in the center, no matter where you are in the building, you can just be up there. We're not gonna police if you're on the first floor, and we're just gonna stay out of that, so.
Sounds good to me.
All right, any further questions for Christie? If not, we are in public hearing on this. Adam, would you want to comment on some things?
Adam Caduce, R&R Realty Group, 1080 Jordan Creek Parkway, West Des Moines. Christy did a great job sharing it. We're in agreement with it. We've got a building that sits at a unique orientation, and so working collectively and creatively to find a plan that makes sense. We like this plan. We think this makes sense. We do have guidelines on size of letters and size of tenants and all those kinds of things. We don't want to create a hodgepodge of building signs. We want this to be really consistent. If you look at a lot of our buildings in other areas, it's all across one area. It's very consistent. It looks really nice. That's what we want to maintain. And we have 2 or 3 new customers that are moving into the building this summer that have building signs. We want to get the building signs up, show the activity, and welcome. They're all 3 new to Urbandale, so we're excited to welcome them. So.
And they are,
I think I can, they've all come through for building permits, so I think I can say that, well, one of them is Equifax. This one was for a company called Foster Group, and then the other one's a health insurance company. They're a little sensitive to their name being out there, so I'll just, you can drive by and see it when it
every
goes
day
out.
I do.
Yes, so we're excited about it. It's, really appreciate the collaboration on this, and happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, really appreciate your support on it.
All right, thank you, Adam.
Thanks.
All right, we aren't public hearing on this yet. Would anybody else like to speak on this item, either for or against? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Kroll, second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move approval of the amendment to the planned unit development master plan.
Okay, motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, moving on then to planning and zoning items. We have one, it's item 8.1, the Enclave Apartment Site Plan at 10841 Douglas Avenue. Christie?
Very good, thank you. This should be a very familiar address to everyone on the council. This is 10841 Douglas Avenue, the former Econo Lodge complex that the city purchased back in 2024 and then demolished, and then went out to a request for proposals for a multifamily project that was in accordance with the visions and the goals of the city council and that sort of thing. Volker Development Company was selected as the project for the city to work with and proceed. So earlier, you saw the comprehensive plan amendment to designate this as mixed residential, and the PUD zone change because it was formerly highway commercial. So now we are at the next step of the process with the site plan. The city does still own the property, but they are moving forward with their development agreement with the city. So I'm gonna pop over to the site plan here. The property does not have direct access and will not have direct access to Douglas Avenue. There is a network of cross-access easements to get travelers to 109th Street to the west and to 106th Street to the east. You can see, though, one of our requirements was to have a pedestrian connection to Douglas Avenue and that sidewalk system, and you can see that that's included here. The project is a 4-story building. We'll get to some building elevations here in a minute. Overall, 60 units, a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 family buildings, 1, 2, and 3 family units in the 4-story building. They had, when we went through the PUD master plan process, we gave some relief to the standard multifamily parking requirement. They do meet that requirement. They show the ADA spaces as required. And then they also have some site amenities that were part of the development agreement between city staff and Volker. And so you can begin to see how those are coming about. It does include a playground. There is a dog park area on the north side of the property. There are some community garden areas. The stormwater detention basin is that kind of vacant spot there in the middle. And you can see how the site plan will continue maintaining. There's a shared access easement here on the west side with that office building. And so that will be maintained on how they access part of their parking lot and then come around to the south where one of the easements is. And then they go around to the north to one of the other easements. The PUD master plan also included some landscaping requirements. Pop over to that page. You can see what their landscaping, this will look a little bit different. We're gonna have them make some minor changes, but you can see the landscaping plan here. They had a requirement for 30% of brick on the facades. And this is what you will see from the Douglas Avenue perspective. So this is the south elevation, and it's kind of in two pieces because it's the L-shaped building. So the upper graphic is the primary, the top of the L, and then the bottom graphic is the end part of that L-shaped building. So this is what it'll look like from Douglas. The elevation on the north is towards the industrially zoned land to the north. This is what it'll look like on the east towards the other multifamily development, and then west is kind of broken up in the opposite manner with the leg of the side building on the bottom, and then the primary courtyard view. This is what we'll be looking into the courtyard from the west. Staff is recommending approval of the site plan, subject to the comments and conditions that you see in the staff report from the varying department, internal department reviews. Travis Falscheld is here with Volker. They just resubmitted their site plan right at the end of the day, so they are working diligently on addressing the comments and conditions in the staff report. I'll take any questions you may have. Travis is here as well to answer any additional project questions.
All right. Thank you, Christie. Any
You're
questions
welcome.
for Christie from the council?
When we get into construction for the site, I don't remember exactly. Is there access for the apartments on, is that 106th or something? I don't remember if it's access on either side that goes through this property.
There is access on either side. I pop back over to the aerial photo. If you see, it travels straight
Oh, it's farther
across
back.
the
Okay.
back.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, it's not right on the street frontages, back behind the buildings.
Okay. So like during construction, the whole lot will be blocked, so like nobody's gonna be traveling through per se?
Mostly, although we did have a comment about coordinating construction schedules with the adjoining property owners, both to the east and to the west. So there will be some coordination that they need to do with this project. Yep, because in condition number 4, only because I read it earlier today because I was looking for something. I'm like, I know it's in here. Add notes to coordinate construction to always have one path through the site to access apartments to the east. So what we don't want is both the north access and the south access blocked at the same time.
Okay. Any further questions at this time for Christie?
Move approval of Council Letter 8640.
Okay, motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Any further discussion? Not, please vote. That passes. All right, thank you. Moving on then to the regular agenda items, item 9.1, and that is consider the memorandum of agreement for the 2027 special census. David?
Yeah, thank you. Before you tonight is a resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of agreement with the Census Bureau. We've just been discussing this for a while, as the council likely recalls. We've been the victim of the executive branch hiring freeze. That has been lifted. And so by the time this actually occurs, we'll have about a 2-year delay in getting this process started, but that's okay. We are taking it in stride. We have $734,646 is the estimated cost to conduct a special census. The census is a partial special census, so we won't be counting everybody. That'll be something we'll need to communicate when the time is right, that, not everybody will need to be participating in this. And that's done very strategically to keep the costs down and to not try to count every single person that in areas that aren't growing fast. Our assumptions on this is that our population is about 48,000. Our decennial census number was 45,580. So we've been extraordinarily conservative in our estimates, and really believe that our population is greater than that, significantly greater than that. But we also wanted to be very realistic, and having gone through a number of these over the years, you don't count everybody. And if there's one common denominator at the end of this process is every city scratches its head and goes, where's the real number? Where's the true number of residents? But the good news is we don't have to count everybody in order for this to make financial sense. So notwithstanding the significant investment, we believe that we'll have about $2.1 million in new net revenue. That's after paying the Census Bureau over 3.5 years. So the date of the special census will be April 1st, 2027. So this will not start until next calendar year. But in order to get the ball rolling, we need to make the payment now, thus the memorandum of agreement. Happy to answer questions.
David, mechanically, how does this work? Does the Census Bureau dispatch a team out here to recruit folks to help? Do they go door to door? How does it work?
There will be a significant electronic component on the front end, but at the end of the day, they will leave door hangers. They will leave stickers on doors if people don't participate and give them the information. So there'll be a number of different ways that there'll be considerable communication during the process. So we'll be communicating, we'll be helping the Census Bureau communicate, but they'll also be providing the staffing to actually do the count.
So the cost is mostly due to staffing?
It's a significant, the most significant part of the cost is the staffing component. And just keep in mind that in any unspent dollars will be returned to us. And talking to all the other cities that have been through the special census, all of them but one that I spoke to, and there were quite a number that have already done this, probably 7 or 8 that I spoke to have gotten some level of refund. But it is a very expensive undertaking, and getting increasingly difficult to do.
How long do you expect it to take?
Well, it'll start prior to that April 1st timeframe, and it will continue into the fall of 2027. And we want to finish and have everything completed and certified prior to the end of the calendar year in order for particularly the road use tax fund revenues to start flowing through in 2028.
David, I was just wondering, I find the map of the census tracts that we're picking fascinating. The one that's to the furthest east in Urbandale, it doesn't show any dots for new construction. Why did we pick that?
It has to do, and Annika was intimately involved in this, it has to do with being contiguous. You have to maintain a contiguous, uninterrupted contiguous census blocks through in order to proceed with the census. So it wasn't necessarily that every area that's mapped to be counted necessarily is a high growth area, but in order to get to the high growth areas, we have to have a contiguous connection to the rest of the community.
Okay, so now that I'm looking at I apologize for those that don't have the map in front of you. So, I mean, between going north and south, it's contiguous from that census block all the way to the western front. But it doesn't go all the way to our eastern boundary.
Correct.
that we didn't have to go that far?
We don't, and we don't want to include areas where there aren't new people unless we absolutely have to meet the criteria that the Census Bureau requires.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, because if you counted everybody, the $740-some thousand would be significantly higher.
Yes.
So that's, the strategy is make sure you capture the highest growth areas, meet the Census Bureau's myriad of requirements, which was Annika's job, and make sure that we get everything in on time.
Great, thank you. It's really interesting, I think.
For the, as it said, we need a budget amendment for this. When approximately would we see a budget amendment? And then I'm assuming this is just like coming out of reserves or something?
Well, we don't need to do the budget amendment right now because the budget is brand new, but it will be coming. We didn't specifically, because when we brought you the budget recommendation, we were still in limbo as to whether we would be able to move forward with the census. But we will be bringing that forward later, and the half of the funds will come from the road use tax fund, which will be about half of the new revenue, and then the other half will be from sales tax.
Got it. Thanks.
Unless Nikki suggests something different, but we've talked about this in great detail, so
But we can use road use tax funds to pay for the special census?
you can.
Oh.
And some cities have actually used that for exclusively for this purpose. But the way the revenue splits up, it's almost 50-50. The road use tax fund will generate about 1.4 and about 1.4 million in new sales tax, unless our population is bigger, in which case it'll be more money. But we'll see.
All right. Any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of Council Letter 8613.
Okay, motion by Carberry Montgomery,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Moving on to item 9.2, that's to consider the engineering services agreement for the Douglas Avenue traffic signal timing project. John, do you have anything further to add, or John, answer any questions if there are?
Move approval, Council Letter 8498.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 9.3 is consider the 2080 agreement for the Urbandale owner-occupied repair program. Again, John Conyers, the other John. Sorry, John. John Conyers, our Director of Risk Management and Support Services, will introduce us. John?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I have a short presentation here to help walk through this. Angie, yep, there we go. Excellent. So we're here today to talk about a new owner-occupied repair program, but it's tied to the Metro Home Improvement Program and the wait list that we have in that program currently today. So it's a new program to help with the program that we currently have already. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief history of the Metro Home Improvement Program as it stands. So that's designed to rehabilitate homes. It's currently administered by MIPA, the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance, and includes multiple cities: Altoona, Ankeny, Bondurant, Grimes, Polk City, us, West Des Moines, and Windsor Heights. The work is actually performed, so if you apply and are approved to become part of the Metro Home Improvement, your work is actually done through Home Inc., who is the contractor for that work. And the 2080 agreement as it stands establishes the number of homes to be done in a city. So for Urbandale, it's 3 homes over a 2-year funding cycle. So if we're going in now to the 26-27 cycle, there will be 3 homes that will be rehabbed or repaired in this year and in the next fiscal year. So it's a 2-year cycle for 3 homes. So what's the criteria for the Metro Home Improvement? It's got to be owner occupied, the value of less than $300,000 of assessment. It's just for homes in the Polk County side, so this is not the Dallas County side, this is just the Polk And then it has 80% of medium income. And you'll see on the graph here, so for a household of one, it's just slightly above 65,000, and for a household of four, a little over 93,000. What can be done, and I'm sorry, this slide's slightly blurry. It's for your basic structural repairs, roofing, walls, foundation, building systems, HVAC, plumbing, weatherization such as insulation, sidings, and windows, and then also additional things for handicap, for bathrooms and outside ramps. And then it also does do sump pumps and connections to storm sewers. So that's a great program, and luckily here we have a lot of interest and applicants who want to be part of the Metro Home Improvement Program. Applications are taken on a first in, first out basis. Most cities don't have a wait list. However, MIPA did notify Urbandale and West Des Moines that both of us have a rather significant wait list out there, and that Urbandale could do something additionally to buy that wait list down. But currently, as of June, there's 18 applicants who are looking for help that are on a wait list. So if you do 3 homes over 2 years divided by 18, you're looking at close to a decade before someone could potentially be possibly up to do those repairs at that point in time. This is the current wait list. The wait list is from homes that applied from 2022 through 2025. Did not put the specific addresses here, but it gives you a rough idea of where those are. Most of them around Douglas and then north from 86 to pretty much the east corporate boundary. We have stopped taking applications for the Metro Home Improvement Program as of May. Didn't think it was right to still promote that program out there if there was a decade waiting list going on. So we are not taking applications at this point. The Urbandale Owner Occupied Repair, which is in front of you tonight, is expressly designed to take care of that 18 household wait list that is currently there. So it's using those 18 households to move them through a system to get those repaired and rehabbed so that wait list can go away and we can start to then promote the Metro Home Improvement Program moving forward. It would use the same criteria that the Metro Home Improvement Program would use and would be structured the same way. The Metro Home Improvement Program is structured that your repairs are done and then it's a lien against your home on a 5-year 20% reduction each year. So if you live there for 1 year, 20% is reduced, and then through the 5 years it would be forgiven as whole moving forward. The differences between the Urbandale Occupied Repair and the Metro Home is that currently at the moment, the Metro Home Improvement, you could ask for up to $16,820. The Urbandale would be capped at $15,000. There is a slight difference there. One of it is financial. 2 is we were assured from MIPA that most people asking for repairs to be done are about $15,000 and or less. So that fits in that sweet spot there. And that the other difference is that instead of Home Inc. to do the repairs, it would be working with the homeowner to find their own contractor off of a list through MIPA to get that work done. And you may ask why? Why can't Home Inc. come in and do it? Home Inc. could, but they would need to hire a whole nother crew. And so they would need a guaranteed number of homes to do each year. And with West Des Moines and us, we just don't have that number of homes to do. Even if you did all of them in 1 year, they would still need to do such a large amount to make it worth their time and while to do a whole new crew and spin up that piece. So the direction is to then let the homeowner pick and find their own contractors and work through that. MIPA would do the actual admin for us, much like they do for the Metro Home, so they would still work to make sure that there's qualified contractors, that they have insurance, and that the repairs are done on time and on budget. The 2080 agreement is structured that you as a council through the budget process can determine how many homes you would like to do in that wait list each year as part of the FY 26-27 budget. We budgeted for 4 homes, which is 15,000 times 4, plus the 10% admin cost for MIPA to oversee the program for us. And that we can cancel this within 30 days on either side. If MIPA decides it's something that's not working out, they could let us know, or if we decide it's something we don't wish to do, we could then cancel moving forward. So how does that help us take care of the wait list out there? So if you take the 18 as of June, the new funding cycle for the budget for the Metro Home Improvement Program will take 3 of those away coming, well, as of July 1st. So that buys us down to 15 homes on the wait list. If this is approved tonight, we would do 4 of those 15 homes. So at the end of June of 2027, the hope is we would be down to 11 homes. If we did the same number in the next budget cycle, another 4 homes, by the time we get to 2028, we should be down to 7 homes. Now, as MIPA will tell you, people may apply, and if you tell them, oh, it may be 3, 5, 7 years before we ever get to you, they may do those repairs on their own and find other ways and sources to do those. So the 18 may only be 10 or 11 by the time that we actually reach back out and go, you're now in the slot to do those repairs. But it could still be 18. So in the worst case, it would take us probably at the current level, it would take us 4 years to get through the wait list and then to start to retake applications for the Metro Home Improvement Program. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Or Lucas Young is also here from MIPA, and he's more, oh, Andrew, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
I got a couple questions.
Yes.
Imagine that. So I understand the capacity issues with Home Inc. doing the work, but I do still have concerns about the property owner being able to determine who's doing the work and them hiring their uncle to do the work and, you know, those sorts of things. But, and that they have the, I mean, I wouldn't know who to call to, you know, start a project like this. So is MIPA helping people along that
They
process?
are, and we had discussions on that of how do you make sure that the work being done is, you know, is being done properly, being done right, and is not being done by someone who isn't insured and may not come back and finish that work. And there is talk of coming up with a contractor list. So here are people, much like we do for the stormwater grant program that we have here. Here are people that we don't endorse, but we know that they have insurance and that they are an upstanding business to do work with. And so that way they could have a starting list to go off of and making sure that it's not someone's uncle or cousin that's doing the work.
I think that would be really helpful to make sure that we have that. And then my other questions are, so are we taking away all of the Urbandale homes from the MIPA program, or are they gonna continue to do the 3 every 2 years?
They are going to continue to do the 3 every 2 years cycle. This is just to address the wait list that is inside of the Metro Home Improvement Program.
And then how long until we can reopen the wait list?
That is at council and staff's direction to let MIPA know we would like to accept applications going forward. Recommendation from staff is that we keep it closed through at least the next year, just to get a feel for how many of those 18 applications are still valid. Is the work that needs to be done still inside of the scope of what's there? Would hate to promote the owner-occupied program or the Metro Home and then have the wait list go from 18 to 30 and then still have the same issue. We did, as staff, talk about what if you wanted to buy down the whole entire list within a year or 2, and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that was something we just couldn't justify to bring back to say that we should get rid of the list within a year or 2, and that let's take a much more structured approach and do it over a 3 or 4 year period.
Well, I think this is great that we're addressing this issue, because it's, I mean, to tell someone, sorry, we'll see you in 10 years, when you obviously need this handicap accessibility addressed right now. I'm very happy that we're doing it, but I would love to see us spend a couple of $100,000 to get it taken care of and then let people continue to apply. But I understand David's obsession with, the budget and everything, so. So, thank you. I'm really excited about this.
And we can take a fresh look at it through the budget process, but I think getting the ball rolling and essentially
Absolutely.
getting 7 homes done over the next, small amount of time will give us an idea of how many of these 18 are still in the queue.
Yeah, I think that'd be great if we could relook at this, I don't know, in a year or whatever, and
Yeah.
see where we're at and how much is left to tackle that backlog.
A couple of thoughts on my end. I'm just looking through the appendix of the contract language. It says the assessed value of the home must be at or below 300,000. Recognizing the income or home values have been through the roof. I'm not sure if that's enough necessarily. If you have a
That-
senior who bought the house, and yeah.
I would say if you are accurate that home prices have definitely gone up. I would say though this program mirrors the Metro Home Improvement, and that is when people applied, that were the rules that they were approved as an applicant through at that point in time. So we didn't want to create that differentiation of, oh, the Urbandale wait list, your home could be $500,000. But if you were to approve through Metro Home, it's capped at 300. We really did try to keep those at the stand.
So is it at the point of application, or is it at the point of us getting to them?
I would let Andrew to answer that directly. It is my understanding that it's at the time that they applied, is that they went through
Okay.
the process.
Okay.
But I can clarify that,
And
I'm
that,
not sure.
and that 300,000 has been raised twice since 2021.
I just know
know,
homes
that-
in my neighborhood are
Yeah.
going for like 265,000, and they're like a 900 square foot home. It's just
Right.
mind-boggling
It's-
to me.
That number was around, I think, 220 at during the pandemic. And so there's been two pretty significant increases.
The other thing, eligible improvements, can people use this to take out tree removal, ash trees?
I would have to clarify and find out. I do not believe so, but it's a question, unless it's tied to another project that is out there. We have talked with MIPA. The city still has outstanding energy advantage money with the Neighborhood Finance Corporation, upon which ash tree removal is a qualified expense through their piece. And so we are working with MIPA and with NFC to make sure as we go through this owner-occupied that we can leverage funds. So if something isn't available through this, it could be through NFC, and if they would like to apply through both, then we could help make that happen.
Okay. And then one final question. As someone who used the NFC program and knowing the extensive nature of bids that have to be submitted, will homeowners need to go through that same process with this program?
I'm going to give you the answer you probably don't like. It's yes and no. If you do remember, we have simplified and reduced the rules for that program specifically at NFC. So it is no longer tied to a first or second mortgage. It can be a standalone amount of money to do the work through the energy advantage piece. So the rules are not 100% reduced, but they are reduced significantly because it's actually not a first and or second mortgage.
Okay. But it's still a lengthy process. You have to submit all your bids at one time.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Just an efficiency. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
We have had open dialogues with the NFC about that, yes.
I know. It's just a nightmare. Okay.
Let's say we clear the backlog, right? Is this something that we just kind of keep in our pocket as a lever that we can use if there ever is an increased backlog in the future again? Like, or is this something that just kind of sunsets when this initial wait list is cleared?
There was no end date expressly written into the 2080, leaving it open that if there was no backlog and then a large backlog, or you wish to revamp this into your own owner-occupied repair, you would have that option, and at that time without having to come back and redo a 2080 agreement.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think would be reasonable for us to keep putting money towards this even when we get the backlog completed, because I think as a growing city, and who wants to make sure our home values are, stabilized and increasing, this is a program that helps us do that. So I think it's something, down the road, we can have that discussion, but I think there's a lot of value in us continuing to put money in this, above and beyond what MIPA does, which is fantastic, by the way. We're trying really hard to get you to come up to the mic, but apparently Amy and I, we weren't able to stump John.
I'm more than happy to yield my time.
Move approval, council letter 8576.
Okay, motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Carberry Montgomery. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. Thank you, John. That passes. And thank you, Andrew, and we look forward to working on this. This is gonna be great, so thanks. Thanks for being here tonight, too. All right, moving on to item 9.4, which is to consider this master services and purchasing agreement with Axon Enterprise, Inc. And Chief Johansson will answer any questions if there are.
I had a quick question on the, sorry to call you up. Related to, I think it said something about when one of the tasers is used, it gets logged. Is that part of like our CALIA reporting and everything like that?
When we use, when we use a taser?
Let's say we use it 2 times in a night or something. That gets logged and submitted into.
Right, and that's what that software program from Axon allows us to log all that information, how many times it was used, how long the duration was, all of those things. If it was used multiple times, all of those things are captured. Date and time, all that stamped. So you can go to court with those documents and prove that you did this, you did that when there's a challenge to it. We also have a completely separate process for use of force. Anytime we have a use of force, where we review the incident, the body camera, the statements, everything, go through, and it goes through multiple layers. It goes through the first line supervisor to the captain to me. We all check out, and the internal affairs also looks at every use of force.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep. All right, anything further? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve resolution 202-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl,
I'll second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Moving on then to the special topics for information discussion. First is item 10.1, that is to discuss the downtown Urbandale infrastructure, and I believe Kristen is ready to start. So Kristen Brostam, our Assistant Director of Engineering, will kick us off.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I'm going to start us off, and then Aaron DeYoung will take it about halfway through and tell you the other portion that we're working on. So we've got 2 parts of the project for the downtown master plan that are coming up here soon. We wanted to give you an update on. One of the objectives in the downtown master plan is to reconfigure Douglas as a 3-lane road, not a 3-land road. Sorry about the typo. Although I'm curious to see what that would look like. This involves a lot of things. To do a complete new cross-section with curb bump outs, with space for utilities, with consistent width. If you've driven through there, you've seen that the right-of-way and the curb vary significantly through there. So this is a long-term project that we need to plan ahead for. However, we can do some paint markings now to establish that 3-lane section and put parking through a good part of the corridor on one side of the road without moving curbs. So that's what this project is for. We will be doing a full design for the entire roadway to implement the full build out in the years to come. The goal of this, again, is to add some parking and to get that 3-lane section kind of similar to what we have on Aurora, but no bike lanes on this one. The intent would be to route bikes on different roadways. So just a quick recap, the traffic volumes on Douglas are between 12,500 and 15,000 vehicles per day. A 3-lane section can handle up to 18,000 vehicles a day. So certainly within the limits of what a 3-lane section can handle. We have presented this plan to the downtown stakeholders group, and we also have presented it to the St. Pius, the 10th school, and church staff for discussion and talk through how that would look. Their pickup and drop off will actually be very similar to what it is now. But again, we're trying to pull that queue out of the through lane, similar to what we did on Aurora, which I think will improve safety and efficiency through there. So walking through the corridor from west to east, we start at 72nd Street. We will turn that inside lane into a left turn lane and then transition through the corridor with that center left turn lane for both directions. On the west end to start with, we're going to have the on-street parking on the north side. So it'll be next to our big block development. You can see there we also have some bus stops through this route. So we've coordinated with DART and we are up to speed on those bus stops. We are including painted bump outs. That provides a visual reference to drivers that they don't have a lane there, that there might be cars parked behind it or pedestrians crossing. It provides a little bit of a buffer for the pedestrians. They're shown red on this display, but we are looking to use the blue that's proposed as part of the branding downtown. We worked with Derek Zarn on which blue we needed. So that will get switched. And we do have a couple of ADA parking stalls in the corridor. Those were positioned to be close to a ramp for easy accessibility. And then as we proceed east of 68th Street, again, that pattern with the painted bump outs, on-street parking switches to the south side to anticipate the approach onto St. Pius and to be able to provide that queue. You can see in front of St. Pius, we are proposing some time-restricted parking there. So in the afternoon during pickup, parking would be restricted, and that would be where the queue forms to avoid encroaching on the through lane. It also works nicely as drivers are coming from the east. Right now, they're discouraging drivers to come to the school from that direction because it causes a queue in the through lane. With the development of that left turn lane, that certainly helps with that issue where that queue sits in the left turn lane as it should for turning into a driveway rather than blocking the through lane. So I think there'll be some improvements there as well. We are going out to bid on this actually this week, posting plans for bidding, and anticipated timeline would be to have this done by mid-October. So it depends on the contractor, of course. It would be about a week's worth of operations, similar to what it was on 70th Street when we did that restriping earlier this year, or last year, I guess it was. And yeah, okay, any questions on that?
What would the signage, the time restricted signage at St. Pius look like? Like no parking, 7 to 9?
Yeah, there's a standard template for that.
Like
Yeah,
that.
we have it at a couple other locations, like around Lions Park. We've got some parking restrictions around there, so it'll be there's a template for it in the MATCD.
But that's approximately, it would say like.
Oh, the actual hours?
It would have hour
Yes.
restricted?
Yes,
Okay.
we talked with the school, I think we said 1:30 to 4. I'll have to check my notes.
Okay.
I've got it written down.
But it would be based on their drop or.
Yes, yeah,
their
we
time.
discussed with them the window that they need. There's a number of days that they have early outs as well, so kind of, we can't block it off the entire day, but trying to compensate for that.
And we will eventually pave the bump outs, is it?
We will what?
We will eventually pave the bump outs,
Oh, with
painted bump outs? Does it mean-
You mean pave them like with a curb?
Yes.
That would be part of the final build out because some of those curbs will move both directions. So correct, for now they're just painted, you can drive over them. That also helps with the turns for large trucks, that sort of thing. They know that they've got to be careful of it, but it gives them a little more wiggle room. The ultimate build out, we'd be looking at curbs.
Sorry, Pat, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the calendar for this, simply because you mentioned mid-October, and I believe we're having our pop-up event on October 10th in the big block. So I was just wondering if you thought it might be possible to be wrapped up in time for that.
I think it could be. I think we can certainly block out that window. We certainly do that with July 4th. They can't work in the corridor during July 4th, that kind of thing. So we'll make sure that it's not disruptive to that event.
Thanks.
I know once we get going farther east, it becomes a Des Moines thing, but
Yes.
I do still think it would be valuable if there was a possibility that there could be some coordination getting up to those lights and is going back out to 2 lanes and then back down to 1 lane pretty quickly, I think is going to potentially get tricky.
We have shared this with Des Moines. Essentially, Urbandale ends, where this project ends on the east end. The difficulty with that is there is a full raised median farther east. So again, to install a center turn lane would require the changes in curbs and medians and that sort of thing. But we did pass this on to Des Moines for their consideration.
Thanks.
What are the peak times for that corridor for traffic?
Typically, peak times are in the evening, like 4 to 5. I'd have to go back to look at the studies, see what this particular is, but usually that kind of 4:30 to 5:15 window is peak hour for most of our roads.
Do we know how, compared to now, how long it, on average, it would take to get through this corridor once this is done?
So actually, we've got a separate project. The approval you did earlier for the carbon reduction grant is going to be looking at signal timings all the way from the east end all the way through to 128th Street. So I think that's going to be the critical component for helping flow through there, is optimizing those timings. Any other questions? Okay, I'll turn it over to Aaron and his portion of the project.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Aaron Dion with the Economic Development Department. When it's downtown, I want to be a part of it. So here, there's going to be more things changing around in the corridor here before the block party in October. And so one of them is talking about the plaza area in the big block. So we had this screen up here. I am going to move out and get to the plan set that you approved with the contractor. TK Concrete out of Pella is doing the work, and that was already done and approved in June. So here is the plan set there. And so this is the full area, right during 7025 Douglas, the old Dairy Queen, and Big Sky is kind of in the front. We've also recently acquired the Green State Credit Union building, so that gives us the opportunity for these to get tied all together. So this is new fencing around those areas in the orange, if you can see it in this diagram, concrete asphalt work to connect these two areas. So I wanted to walk through just a few of the key parts to this so that you can see the notable improvements here, starting from the south and then moving up north. So in this plan set is working through closing the entrance road that Green State Credit Union had for that. One is we already have an access and we can connect these two properties between 7025 Douglas and Big Sky Bread. So that'll be the new one. That also creates some opportunity to do some placemaking right in that section there to be kind of a front of house space for the new tenant in 7025 Douglas. So closing off the area, closing off this vehicular access and then utilizing this for people instead of cars through here. We're also closing that off from the north side too, so that there isn't vehicles going through there. So the new access road would come. We would be doing new concrete work here to connect the two lots. So that would be the path that people would go. It'd be one way, and then you'd be able to get out on 71st Street. Some of this was probably already described to you in the June approval, but I'm doing it anyway. And then one of the key things with doing that switch to the parking lot to the west is we'll get at least 7 new parking spots just out of thin air because of relocating that and closing off the drive-through access to the bank property. So just by the power of a pen and some paint, we can get 7 more spots for free, which is pretty exciting. Moving further north beyond the concrete connection there, we would be redoing a lot of the asphalt there. when we did the block party last fall, we were always worried about trip hazards and things. We will be rectifying that through the new asphalt there, and then also creating a pedestrian, a block between vehicles and pedestrians for the long term in between those two spaces. Just today, Parks and city manager staff and economic development and communications and marketing, we went and talked about this area to the furthest north. In the block party, we're trying to create this into a plaza space. And so this is the area where we're going to try and kind of step it up a notch and have this be a space not only for the block party, but also for everyday kind of activity for this plaza, to get people thinking about this area as something more than just a place where there's some asphalt millings and detention area type of thing. So working through what that can be, not only for the block party, but then beyond with that, while we're in this interim condition of, we want this to be a space where people can enjoy and recreate and have fun in, but we don't have the full plan and the funding through the CIP to get this full plaza going. Oh, and there's still properties in transition directly adjacent. So how are we going to get this right from a timing and tying it to new construction and all of that? So stay tuned on how we're going to do that. Also through the branding work that we will be giving you an update on here in the following meetings, is utilizing some of the colors to create, look at this purple area. This is going to be black asphalt. So how can we make this place more beautiful through some paint and things like that, so that people know that they're in a special place rather than a asphalt parking lot, to be able to get that. It's an important improvement, but how can we evolve it so that pedestrians and residents and visitors can know that they're in a space that's going to be in transition and getting better every day. So wanted to walk through that because this is going to be starting in the next couple weeks. And so we've already notified the tenants there and the businesses around there that will be impacted. And so just removal of the fence that we did a few weeks ago was already, people were getting excited. So to see these improvements happen and then have the block party to really be exposed to it is going to be an exciting thing. So we wanted to give that as an update to you. Also, you're probably aware we're going to give a few more presentations in the following meetings, talking about the branding, and then talking about the zoning types of work that we're also doing down here. So lots going on. We want to keep you informed. And we're also doing this for the businesses in our property owner group as well as we go through. So any questions on this part?
You mentioned people were getting excited. Were they getting good excited or bad
Yes,
excited?
it was good excited.
Okay.
Yep. I guess I should probably qualify that. Sometimes in the work we do, it's not a good excited.
Okay,
Yep.
great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Any further questions on that? Good update. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks, guys. All right, then we'll move on to item 10.2, and that is consider the Municipal Code Chapter 75 proposed changes. And Chief Dringenson is going to walk us through this, Chief.
Find the PowerPoint I put together here, and I'll see what we can do here. Angie, you might have to help me find this thing on here.
Looks like somebody closed it, so.
I probably just closed
No,
it.
that's okay. Oh, no, not that one.
Done.
Which one is yours?
Let's see it.
Oh, we're on econ development, that's why.
No, this is not it.
Oh, no.
It's
There
there it
this
is.
one.
There it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay. Let me get this. All right. So I'm going to talk tonight about personal transportation device ordinance. It's not what it's currently called. It's the bicycle ordinance for us right now. but with the revisions that I've made, we have added to the label of this ordinance. So I'll just jump through this a little bit. Basically, the focus was to modify the current bicycle ordinance to include personal transportation devices. And you're probably thinking, what is a personal transportation device? And what I have defined a personal transportation device is basically every device imaginable, if you will, as long as it doesn't have a motor that's greater than 750 watts. If you're thinking, okay, where did we come up with 750 watts? Iowa code defines low-speed bicycles, which I'll get to in a second, and uses that threshold to define low-speed bicycles. So that's what we're seeing in the other ordinances in the other cities as this 750 watt limit. It also does not include any device with a fuel-powered motor. So when we talk about personal transportation devices tonight, we're not talking about anything with a fuel-powered motor. Here's a quick rundown of what the Iowa code defines a low-speed electric bicycle as. Not more than 750 watts, and then they have it broken down into 3 classes. Class 1 only assists when you get the assist from the motor when you're pedaling, and it ceases at 20 miles an hour. Class 2, you can do all electric power. You don't have to be pedaling. And it also ceases at 20 miles per hour. And then they have a class 3 that only assists when pedaling, but it ceases at 28 miles per hour. And Iowa code restricts class 3 to 16 years of age or older to operate a low-speed electric bicycle. Definition of scooter is also captured under personal transportation device. So our definition of scooter would be a device weighing less than 100 pounds, may have an electric motor, may be human powered, but the motor, again, may not be more than 750 watts, and it can't go over a max speed of 20 miles an hour on level ground. That's the common definition that you see throughout the ordinances. Let's jump into, and personal transportation device, I just hit a couple of the highlights of the bigger ones that you see out there and you talk about. Personal transportation device for us is going to be bicycles. It's going to be everything with a motor, without a motor. Right? Again, the motor can't be over 750 watts. What is not a personal transportation device, and this is the biggest problem we have, is right here. It's the e-motos. The problem is there is no set definition of what an e-moto is. So I do not try to define e-moto in our ordinance. I simply limit it to the 750 watts. So again, personal transportation by device, some e-motos would qualify as that if they have 750 watts or less. When we're talking about 750 watts, it's 1 horsepower or less. That's about the equivalent. 750 watts is 1 horsepower. When I look at these, just for an example, when I didn't know a lot about this when I dug into this to start off. When I started looking at e-motos, their motors are much bigger than this. The small ones that I pulled up and we're looking at were 1,800 watts. The normal one that you see driving around most of the time that these kids are on, these motorcycles, they're motorcycles is what they are. They're electric motorcycles. They're 4,000 watts. They're big. So 750 watts is going to eliminate virtually all of these. The ones that are small enough to be the 750 watt or lower are very small. They're very small. Basically, as I've said here, most of what you're seeing out there is an electric motorcycle. There's no difference between a dirt bike that you see with a gas motor and these. They just have an electric motor on them. So that's the difference. Iowa code also defines motorized bicycle. This is your moped from back in the day when I grew up. So Iowa code defines it. It can't go over 39 miles an hour. Again, often referred to as a moped. You have to have a license or a permit to operate this. It does not include any of those definition of low-speed bicycles. This is a different machine here. again, can be electric or gas powered and meet that definition for Iowa code. But you're gonna have to have it licensed. You're gonna have to have a license or a permit, all the lighting, everything that's required by Iowa code to operate this. This is not allowed on our trails or sidewalks. And this is also where we are going to limit, or I'm proposing that we are going to limit any device with a motor that produces more than 750 watts or is powered by fuel that does not qualify as a personal transportation device for our ordinance. And there's just so many variations out there. It's easier to define them by the motor size, in my opinion, than trying to explain and describe every single thing that's out there. There's motorized skateboards that can go 50, 60 miles an hour. It's crazy. The scooters, they range in size from human powered, just the little push little things, to things that can go 50 and 60 miles an hour. All different types. So I still tried to keep it as simple as possible and just went with the motor restrictions, and we'll work our way through it with that. There are some speed rules that apply to our ordinance. So basically we're talking about trails and sidewalks, but we're also talking about roadway here when we're talking about our ordinance. So not more than the posted speed limit, right? So you can't operate at more than the posted speed limit. So if you are out on the road on one of these things, or a bicycle even, you can't go more than the posted speed limit. So if the speed limit's 25 miles an hour down Aurora and you're in the bike lane, you can't be going 35, even if you're on a bicycle. That's the way it is now. It's current law. Our parks ordinances already restrict speed on anything to 15 miles an hour. So I just left that in there. I didn't want to contradict what's in our park ordinance. So if you're in a park, a designated park in the city of Urbandale, the speed limit is 15 miles an hour on any of the trails or sidewalks. Anywhere else, and this is the vast majority of our trails and sidewalks, is no posted speed limit, and 20 miles an hour is what is consistent across all the ordinances in the metro. So that's where I came up with the 20 miles an hour. That's what I'm seeing in all the other ordinances, trying to stay a little consistent with that. That's still pretty fast on a trail or a sidewalk. Couple other little things in our ordinance, shall yield to pedestrians. So anytime you have a bicycle or a personal transportation device, anything that's defined under personal transportation device, have to yield to pedestrians on the trails and sidewalks. Must give an audible signal when overtaking. So in other words, if you're going down the trail or sidewalk and you're going to pass somebody that's walking, you have to give some type of audible signal. Passing on the left, coming up behind you, something that is already in our ordinance for bicycles, so it just maintained it for personal transportation devices. This is something that I added. Personal electronics must be mounted or used in a hands-free application. I can tell you of an incident that we have an email from a resident that was struck. Her and her friend were walking and was struck by a young man riding an electric scooter, and he knocked the one lady down and he crashed, and he was on his phone when he hit them. So this is something I haven't seen in the other ordinances, but I added it for your consideration. So get your thoughts back on that when we get to the end here. Again, personal transportation devices can be operated on any of our roadways, trails, sidewalks, or other transportation infrastructure, or within the right-of-way, any of the right-of-way within the city. But they're prohibited on our green spaces, easements, or right-of-way not improved for device or vehicle traffic. So we're getting a lot of complaints from residents that these e-motos in particular are driving through our parklands and tearing up the grass and making ramps and doing those types of things where they're not on a trail at all. They're just in our green spaces tearing them up. And we have pictures of that damage and so forth. Additional restrictions in the ordinance. I put in this may not be operated where signs prohibit. see this in some of the other ordinances. Ankeny in particular has certain districts where they don't want people riding bicycles because of the pedestrian foot traffic. So I envision this as our downtown area. When it's developed, there'll be certain areas where we want people to get off of those devices and walk them or be on foot and not be going through a crowd of people on a motorcycle or on a personal transportation device, but walking them. We don't have any areas right now posted, but this allows us to post those areas if we feel that we want to restrict those motorized vehicles and or even the human-powered vehicles in those areas. Motorized bicycles are prohibited from operating, this is your moped, right? Are prohibited from operating on sidewalks, trails, bicycle lanes, and designated share areas. They're designed for the street. That's where they need to be. Just made sure that that was clear. And again, devices over 750 watts or using fuel other than electricity or exceeding the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit are prohibited from our sidewalks and trails. I did put a few limitations on the roadway for consideration. There's just some things that I don't think should be in the roadway, and those particular things are listed here. Scooters, skateboards, skates, or other power-driven mobility devices. I restrict them from the street if there's a sidewalk or trail adjacent. If there isn't one, then they would be allowed to be in the street as well. But if there's a sidewalk or trail, I prefer that they be off of the roadway so we don't have any incidents with vehicles and traffic. Roadway access, again, if it has a motor that's larger than the 750 watts or it utilizes fuel other than electricity, that it's prohibited from the roadway unless it meets all the requirements of Iowa code for a motorized vehicle, a motorcycle, or a motorized bicycle. So again, if you're going to operate something in the street that has a large motor on it or a fuel motor, it's going to have to be licensed, registered, insured, just like a vehicle, like a motorcycle, like a moped, just like Iowa code requires. So it just made that was clear in the ordinance as well. Bike lanes, talk about bike lanes just a little bit. It allows all those personal transportation devices, our definition of personal transportation device, to operate in the bicycle lane and the roadways with sharrows. So again, those devices all have motors that are less than 750 watts or 750 and below. So they would be allowed to operate in the bike lanes and also in the lanes with the sharrows. Just a quick comparison to what's out there right now as far as ordinances. Been asked a few questions about are we getting with the other cities and making sure that these things are kind of consistent, and I can tell you that they are. They're pretty consistent. They're not exact. Just a rundown of where people are at in the metro, a few cities. So Johnston, Windsor Heights, and Altoona, they're either in the draft phase or they're in the waiting phase to see where this all fleshes out. Des Moines, I spoke to the chief down there. They have no specific ordinance addressing electric transportation. Their current ordinance defines a bicycle as having an electric motor of 1 horsepower or less. So that's in their bicycle definition right now, but they don't have any ordinance, and there's no plan that I heard from the chief about them addressing this right now. So I'm not sure what they're gonna do going forward, or they're just gonna stick with what they have. So the cities that do have something out there are Waukee, Clive, and Ankeny. They have an ordinance that's either in place or they're in the final reading of it. They've passed a few drafts of it, a few readings of it, and have made some adjustments. I think we've all seen the news on that, where they've made some adjustments based on public input. Just similarities between those ordinances that are out there. They prohibit riding on trails and sidewalks by type of device, which is exactly what we're doing, either by using the not more than 750 watt restriction or not capable of going more than 20 mile an hour. I stayed away from the 20 mile an hour, not capable of going 20 mile an hour, because I think that's very hard to enforce. And how are we gonna know whether it's capable of doing that or not? It's easier for our officers to go out there and enforce the 750 watt. The device will have, they're required to have the sticker on it by state code, If it doesn't have the sticker on it, we should be able to easily determine the size of the motor by looking up that device and researching it and finding out how big the motor is on it. The other similarities are they restrict operation in green spaces just like we are. But again, the device descriptions, the definitions vary slightly here and there between what they define as a scooter, what we define as a scooter, those types of things. So there's a little bit of variation in the definitions. The differences that I would like to note, some cities restrict specific devices from operation on roadways with speed limits greater than 25 miles an hour. So you're seeing that in Waukee. I think they had that in there. So if they have a roadway that's 35, 45 like we do, they're restricting some of their devices from operating on those roadways. I did not go down that path. I only restricted them if there isn't a sidewalk or a trail adjacent for the scooters, the skateboards, the skates, and the other power-driven mobility devices. I stayed away from the speed zones and the roadway stuff. Urbandale requires the mounted or hands-free electronic device use. No other ordinance that I saw out there has that. So that's something that I, again, brought up for you guys to consider. And then the enforcement side of it. Clive and Waukee, their ordinance, if you violate, is a $25 fine. Ankeny and Urbandale, it's a civil violation up to $750 for first offense. Second offense is $1,000. And again, that's up to. I can tell you from experience dealing with some of the other violations. An example would be the fireworks. When you write that citation and it goes down to court, the judge has been setting that fine around $100 for the fireworks violations the past couple of years. They can go up to $750, but it's up to their discretion.
Chief, can that be, can our violation, and I'll ask you this or Maria, but on minors, or minors, because I thought there was the reason I asked this is there was some discussion at MPO about this whole fining thing, and Waukee's justification for what they were doing is so that they could be able to fine minors, and they didn't think that they could with, so I just want to make sure that if we do it, we can fine either a minor or an adult if they're violating our ordinance, so.
Yes, we can, as far as we have in the past for like fireworks, same section, same everything, we've done it in the past. I think where the concern is getting is how young will we go, right?
Yeah.
So if you catch a 10-year-old out there, are you going to cite them? We really haven't run into that with fireworks or other city ordinance violations where we have someone super young. We probably have, but we've used discretion and didn't do anything with them. I would recommend we could put a specific fine amount in this ordinance, like Clive and Waukee did. I don't care what we do on this, honestly, but it makes sense to me that it has to be more than $25.
I agree. I want
it has to be north of 100, or it's got to be around 100 or north of there to have any effect at all. I would recommend that if we are going to put a fine amount in there, that it be $100-ish, somewhere around that area. That would be my recommendation.
Chief, when you say a civil violation up to $750, does that mean we're leaving it up to the judge?
That is correct.
Okay.
I'm fine with it being high. I just want it to be enforceable against both minors and adults.
So a 12-year-old gets caught with a 1,000-watt device. What happens? I mean, if you hand them a ticket, that's going to get wadded up and
right.
I mean, how are we? I mean, I have a lot of practicality questions, I guess, but that one comes top of mind. I mean, how do we? I mean, do we march them back to their parents' house and ring the doorbell? That happened to my mom a lot with my brothers back in the day.
So I'll tell you what we're doing now, because we are enforcing the e-motos stuff right now. So they're electric motorcycles, and our ordinance, in my opinion, covers motorcycles. Off-road motorcycles is in this ordinance right now. So they qualify as an electric motorcycle or an off-road motorcycle. So what we've been telling the officers to do is when we catch these kids is the first time we're going to tell them this is illegal to ride. And we contact the parents. We get if they're juveniles, if they're underage, we contact the parents and advise them that this is illegal for your child to be on the sidewalk anywhere.
How does that how does that contact, I mean, you're assuming the kid's gonna give them mom or dad's phone number,
Right?
and then Monday morning, somebody calls and tells them?
No, we call them from the scene.
Right there?
Right
Okay.
there, right. The officer has them. What's your mom and dad's phone number? Call them right there. Sure, there's games played once in a while, but we work our way through that with shoplifting and everything else. We're used to that. So we contact the parent. Again, first time warning. Can't ride this. Come pick them up. Can't ride at home, depending on where they're at. Little discretion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the parents are advised, and the child is advised. The second time, when they're stopped, we can check our system to see if they've been stopped before. Even if it's that warning, it'll be in our call for service. So the second time, that's when we're going to do citation, possibly impound, whatever we need to do.
So you're not dealing with like driver's licenses on a car, like you could run in the system? So you're looking up
So technically,
name in the system?
yes.
Okay.
If they don't have some type of ID with them, which a lot of them won't, if they're under 14 and don't have a permit or anything, we just get name, date of birth, address, phone number, all that. Again, confirming with the parent. So hopefully we can determine that they're telling us the truth, right? But yeah, I don't think it's a huge issue that someone's telling us false information, and we can usually pick that up pretty quickly. We run into that with adults a lot as well, false information. So the officers are pretty good about picking up on that when someone's not being truthful with them, when they can't remember their date of birth and things like that. It just starts to give you some signals that maybe they're not being truthful here. So, but at the end of the day on this, again, just to reiterate, I think the simplest way to describe this is if it has a motor of 750 watts or less, it can be operated on our trails and sidewalks. If it's 750 or more, it cannot be. That's the simplest way to think about this.
And if it's above that, it has to be licensed, registered, insured.
If you want to operate it in the street, and if it doesn't have that, it can't be operated anywhere in the city. That's what these e-motos, they can only be operated, just like a dirt bike, they can only be operated on private property. They can't be on our trails, our sidewalks, our roadways, our right-of-ways, anywhere, parkland. They're not allowed. They haven't been for years. I don't know how this happened, how this thing exploded like it did, where they think they can just go wherever they want on these motorized vehicles. I mean, for years, we've not allowed motorized vehicles on our trails. You got into that hybrid with these bikes with the assist, and then everything just came off the rails, in my opinion.
Chief, are we planning to have speed limit signage on the trails?
No, that's where if anywhere else it's 20 miles an hour. I would tell you that it will be very hard for us to enforce any type of speed limit on trails or sidewalks. I think, honestly, that piece is in there, in my opinion, from a liability standpoint. If we have an accident, our reconstructionists can determine speed of vehicles pretty closely. On vehicles, on skid marks, on distance to travel after the accident, those types of things, and kind of come close to what the speed was. So if someone's well over that 20 miles an hour, we should be able to determine that if we have something serious happen.
Did I hear you right that the rule now in parks is 15 miles an hour?
It is.
Is that publicized anywhere?
It's in our ordinance. One of our park ordinances, and when we put this out with staff, that I was informed that our park already restricts speed to 15 miles an hour, and I said, okay, well then I'm not going to try to change that. I'll just incorporate that into this.
I'm making no confessions here today. The hands-free idea, I think is a really great idea. I support that. I'm wondering if it makes any sense to prohibit earbuds.
Yeah, I don't know how far in the weeds we can even get with this, to be honest with you. And again, it's not as hands-free as the as what you see for vehicles right now, where you can't be touching that phone or anything. As long as they have it mounted and they want to be touching it, I think that's okay. But if it's up here, that's basically where I gave the option of either mounted or hands-free. But again, that's for you guys to think about a little bit. Again, nobody else is doing that. Nobody else had that ordinance. I just thought it was crazy that after I put it in there, we got the call that's email about this lady being struck, and the boy was on his phone when he struck him. So
I'm a little bit confused. Is there going to be some proper role for a 700 watt e-moto? I guess if someone is licensed.
No, so again, the simplest way to think about it is if it's 750 watts or lower and it's an e-moto, it can operate on our trails and sidewalks.
All right.
Just like a scooter that's under 750 or under.
All right.
Anything that's 750 and under can operate on our trails and sidewalks, because the power of it is only 1 horsepower-ish. So I think that's where we're getting the restriction that we want on that.
Do you know about how fast then can a 750 watt e-moto travel?
I'm guessing around 20 miles an hour, because that's what you're seeing with the low-speed bicycles that have the 750 watt restriction. It's the 20 mile an hour cutoff. So, but I don't know.
It's a very low-powered electric motorcycle, basically.
It is, yep. And that's the problem. It's like everybody, if we say you can't ride an e-moto, then they're not going to call it an e-moto. They're just going to call it something else. And we can't require it to have pedals and have the electric motor and pedals, because then all your scooters are out too. So, I mean, we can do that, but it gets really confusing when you get down in the weeds and try to separate out specific devices by name. I think it's much easier just to say 750 or less. That's acceptable, because we know the speeds won't get too crazy out of hand. But if it gets above that, that's where you're starting to see these 35, 40, 50 mile an hour capable vehicles that are operating on our trails and sidewalks. And kids are operating them, so they're going to go 35, 40, 50 miles an hour if it's capable of that.
Are we planning an education piece? I like what you were talking about signaling. I think bicycle etiquette is lacking, and I think a lot of people just don't know that they're supposed to announce that they're on the left, on the right, et cetera. What are we thinking about doing in terms of
so we can get with Derek, and we can do our own social media as well. We don't have a huge following, but we got a few out there. But I've seen from Waukee in particular is the one that pops into my mind. But there's some little cheat sheets, little 1-page, this is what's acceptable, this is what's not, that we can push out there. That's really simple for people to look at and determine what they have at home in their garage. Is this able to be ridden on the sidewalks and trails, or do I have to be in the roadway with it? And if that's the case, what do I have to do to license it, that type of thing. So I think we can put something together that makes it pretty simple and just hits the basics that most people are going to be asking the questions on.
Yeah, if I could hit that. So there's been extensive discussion on this at MPO, and there was last month also at MAC, but there was very extensive discussion last month's MPO meeting. And so where it is right now is the MPO is acting more as a repository of information. So there was some push by some folks to say, well, the MPO should be the convener of this, and we said, no, I think most, Waukee was there, Clyde was there, Ankeny's already done there. So I think the consensus was, okay, let's at least have the MPO be the repository of different ordinances. And there's also some information there as far as PR stuff. So I think, Derek, if you want to reach out to Allison at the MPO, she's the one, and I've told David this already, but Allison at the MPO has really been digging into this, but can disseminate and get all the information out that we need to see, or also be providing our ordinance. So, if anybody wants to look and see what we're proposing, then they can see that as well. So,
right. I do want to make it clear that this does not change any regulations for bicycles at all. It's exactly what we have on the books now. It stays exactly the same. Bicycles are allowed to go on the trails, on the sidewalks, on our roadways, and follow the law like they always have been. So I know there were some other ordinances that came out and were restricting bicycle stuff, and that caused a little bit of an uproar in some cities, and we're not doing that at all. So everything's the same for that as it was before.
Chief, something to consider. I know that the e-moto or the e-bikes under 750 can be modified to go faster than what they're rated to go.
Right.
So I don't know if that's important as we think about a ordinance. Yeah, I mean, people are modifying
Souping them up just like you do a car, I suppose.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly what's happening. So that might be something to think through in terms of specification. And then I'm constantly wondering, like, is there, and this isn't an ordinance piece necessarily, but, you know, I think about diversion. Like, is there something that we can do as a council to say, hey, you've been caught, here's your warning, and if you're interested, maybe having them turn in their device and we give them you know, create a partnership with like the street collective, like here is a voucher to go get a regular bike. Something that encourages people to turn them in voluntarily and get something that's still legal. Something to think about. It's not an ordinance piece, but
Right.
I think
Yep.
just, I've been mulling that around for a while, thinking, I want kids to be outside, but we want them to be safe.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Again, it's kind of like fireworks. And when I look at it, it's like the genie's out of the bottle a little bit. It's like, how do we get control of it again? And it's a difficult task, I think. And unfortunately, you're seeing some very serious accidents around the metro, across the country. That's one of the things also I thought about when we instructed the officers how to do this, because I want the parents to be notified, because then the liability attaches. There was a case, I believe it was in California, where a young, I don't know how old the kid was, the police had stopped the kid and told him it's illegal to ride this e-moto on the street or on the sidewalk and trail, and they notified the mother, and then the kid continued to ride it, and he ended up striking a pedestrian and killing them, and the mother was charged with manslaughter. And again, so the liability really attaches once the notification's been made to the parents. So I think that will get them to consider whether they continue to allow their kid to run around on the trails and sidewalks with something that we've told them is illegal to do. The liability really attaches to the parent then at that point.
How many, I mean, you gave me how many you've stopped so far, even without the e-motos on the streets?
I don't, but not enough. And what we're planning on doing is we have our I was going to send bicycle officers out there, but I'm like, they might get outrun, you know,
Oh, they
if
will.
these e-motos are out there. So what we're going to
Boca
do,
can do it, can't he?
we're going to do a combination of our bicycle officers and our Gator, our John Deere Gator, and we're going to start running the trails and parks, because we're just having a hard time coming across. When someone calls us, by the time we get over there, it's just like, hey, someone's speeding down 86th Street.
Yeah.
By the time we get to 86th Street, that person's not there anymore. So we have had some luck with telling the residents, hey, if you know where they live, we'll go knock on their door and make the advisal there. We don't have to catch them in the act. We're going to do an advisal the first time anyway. So we've done several knocking on the door and advising, this is not legal to ride, da-da-da-da-da. And so we'll continue that, but we're increasing our efforts, because I don't think we're having a big enough impact. And so we're going to get out on the trails and in the parks with our Gator and with our bicycle officers and see if we can make some more contacts.
I've seen the same group of 3 kids on e-motos, like in Patricia Park, and then they come down my street in Greenview Drive. I don't know how far they're going around town.
Right.
Can you do a citizen's arrest, Bob?
Yeah, and
I already did a finger wag.
You finger wag at him.
Yeah, I did a
A
good finger
mayoral
wag.
finger wag.
And I think another place we're going to catch up to them here in a month or so is at the school. Because I know kids are riding them to school. They're riding these e-motos to school, and they're parking them right out there. It looks like the motorcycle gang has moved into the middle school. So
All right.
Chief,
another
that
place
was-
where we can do advisals.
That was gonna be my next point, is I think working with our SROs, you know, in Urbandale and communicating to our SROs in our other school districts. But I also think, when we have this ordinance and the pretty graphics, going through the school's PR departments and getting those emailed out through the official school email system. Cause I think, you know, we can, the many ways as we can get to parents as possible. And I think the schools are probably gonna wanna be a partner in this because they are gonna show up, in the bike racks, in August.
We need
So-
to include the private schools in that too.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. But I mean, not just Urbandale and Waukee, but Johnston, Des Moines, DCG, everybody, I think we need to be communicating with all the districts so that they know we're doing this and that we're serious.
Okay, we can do
I was
that.
thinking of community service hours though, Amy, that's where you were headed.
I don't know.
Chief, you were talking about criminal liability attaching. If anyone's watching on the live stream, this is just a comment, but you might want to check your homeowner's insurance policy because some homeowners' policies do cover bike accidents in the same way that they cover automobile accidents, but some don't. And as you've indicated, people can be very seriously injured from negligence on a bicycle.
Well, the civil liability is there always.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and if there's been a notification made, you're adding zeros to that civil liability because the parent should have known or did know, and now you can just add the zeros on there to that civil liability.
Yeah, I almost think that, you know, insurance ought to be required, but that's not going to happen. I'm just saying it's a big problem when someone sustains a serious injury and there's no deep pocket to compensate.
All right. Any further questions or comments?
So, David, what is this gonna come back to us as?
First reading of the ordinance at
Okay.
the next council meeting.
Chief, thank you very much for the work you've done on this.
Yep.
It's
It
quite-
was more
it's quite a bit.
complicated than I expected when I dug into it. I will admit that, and still not perfect. I don't know. We may have to make some adjustments down the road once we implement this and find out where it all lands. But I think this is a great start for us to get something out there.
I like the changes you made on it, Chief. I appreciate it. And then, again, I think the biggest thing I ask for, as I've told David all along, is just as long as we're coordinating our communication so everybody knows what we're doing as well alongside with what the other cities are doing, so.
Yep.
One thing, I think I might have heard something that like the Bicycle Coalition has a model ordinance or something that they're pondering. I didn't know if,
They really don't. Blake, I says,
Okay.
I don't know if you saw my email. I replied to your email late this afternoon.
oh, I didn't check. I
They
didn't
don't
get to see
really,
that.
I mean, I think they said they've had some, but there was quite an extensive discussion at MPO between the Waukee chief that was there and the Bicycle Coalition. They provided a lot of comments to the Waukee one, which I think ended up
they
having
got-
Waukee make some extensive changes to theirs.
Yeah,
so.
and I think the Bicycle Coalition got excited with the Waukee one because they were restricting bicycles off of the roads, and so that was a big change compared to what state law is and those types of things. So that's when the Bicycle Coalition kind of jumped in and said, hey, what about this, what about that? But I have not seen a full-on ordinance that they've drafted, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look at my email.
Do we need to, show them or ordinance or
Well, that's what
ask them for their comments?
Yeah, that's why I say it's important to get it to Allison at MPO. Let's get it in draft form up to Allison. She's the repository. She'll be able to communicate that with folks, and that was the discussion we had at MPO, is that everybody shares their information, so everybody knows exactly what each community is doing, so.
So she would be sharing it with the Bicycle Coalition folks? Okay.
Yeah, and if there's a contact that you have with Bicycle Coalition, I can certainly send
I'm
it
gonna
directly
s-
to them too.
I'm gonna send it to
Okay.
you right now.
And when I get the draft
Well,
all
it's
ready to
actually the
go
street
for next
collective,
council meeting, I'll just send that draft over there as well.
I have the model ordinance from Iowa Bicycle Coalition that was also crafted with Street Collective.
Yeah.
I'm sending it to, do you want it as well, Maria? Okay.
All right, any further
Thank
questions?
you. I know you did a lot of hard work, but I think the simplicity, you found where we can make it simple
I tried.
to
It was very-
enforce. I
yeah.
think that's the key piece, and I really appreciate your
Yeah.
hard work on that.
I think more than anything, the ordinance is one thing, but more than anything, we just got to get out there and get kids stopped and get them told and get the parents told and try to put the lid back on a little bit. So we're doing our best there.
You know, there was a comment at MPO that parents are clamoring for us to have an ordinance so they can tell their kids they can't do this.
Right.
You know, they're trying to have us parent their kids, but, you know,
Right.
that's a whole other story, so. All right,
Well,
thanks,
this is
Chief.
Pat.
Thank you.
Oh.
I just wanted to thank the chief too. I just think this is a really good work and very difficult issue, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Pat. All right, moving on to reports then. First, city manager's report, David.
Nothing tonight.
Blake.
Just a couple things. Number one, huge thanks to city staff and the teams that were out in the morning, out at night, working roads, like putting up barriers, traffic control. Like it's a 4th of July is a whole beast. And just want to appreciate everybody that's a part of that and worked to make it as safe as possible and as smooth as possible. Second thing, I wanted to just call out a couple updates from Bravo. I think it was a June meeting technically. So the new budget was adopted. Kind of the big changes for that one is it reflects that Altoona and Norwalk are no longer part of Bravo. And so that reflects loss in funding, obviously, with Altoona mainly. But then also a loss of reach for programs like Passport to Culture through the schools as well, because the schools that previously participated in those programs are no longer eligible for that funding to bring cultural programs to the school. So that is unfortunate. The other thing I wanted to call out there is applications for the Passport to Culture, local art and culture grants, the public art grants, basically anything that cities would be associated with. It sounds like they're going to be consolidating all the application guidelines for those to the fall. And it sounds like there may be a phone call going out this month to kind of inform on some of those changes. Idea there is just to kind of streamline the process because it was 3 separate grant programs with different application deadlines, and so it's trying to just kind of cram that all into one application deadline, either deadline or application itself. So just keep an eye out for that. That is changing. So that's all I got.
All right.
Also, ditto what you said about 4th of July. Really appreciate our entire staff and community volunteers for another amazing year. I also, of note, the Lions Club tent was beautiful. And also the VFW trailer. Got myself a walking taco from them, from that new trailer that we helped support there. So just another, I mean, that's what Urbandale is 4th of July in my opinion. And I think we had another successful year, even though I didn't have enough candy. A couple of other things. The library just put out a post on Facebook today in conjunction with National Night Out. The community crate, which is sponsored by Uplift, is going to be placed in one of the parking lots during National Night Out. And then later that week on Thursday, there's going to be a book discussion for There's No Place for Us, which is a Pulitzer Prize winning book on working in homelessness. So I'm excited to see the work of Uplift continue through education, advocacy, and the emergency rent relief.
Emergency rental assistance.
Emergency rental assistance program. So very excited that we are moving forward with the 142nd and Meredith traffic signal. Every time I drive through there coming here normally, I mean, traffic is backed up further and further. I mean, it was last week almost to Des Moines Christian construction area heading west at 5:30. So hopefully our traffic signal will be the magic to make that all go away, right, John? DART meeting today for July. The Reimagine DART redesign is off to a great start. I think the public feedback that we're getting is overwhelmingly positive. The crosstown Route 4, which goes through Urbandale on Douglas and then south on 86th Street, is, I heard referred to today by a writer as a game changer. So I think we're just going to continue to hear positives. There are definitely people impacted negatively, but it's off to a great start. Since our last meeting, we welcomed Secretary Duffy, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, and Representative Nunn to our operations and maintenance facility. And they did a tour. It's a really great facility on Vandalia Road, and there will be an opportunity for council members, mayors, and city staff to visit that facility in the near future. And then also, thanks Curtis for attending the meeting last week on the phase 2 for that project. We approved the plan to move forward with phase 2 to build that facility out completely and move all bus operations and maintenance activities from Dartway to the new facility. And we will be able to go out for bid this winter for that. And I took the bus today. Everybody needs to know that, so. But I chatted with a few folks on the bus, and one of them had put their bike on the bus. And when he found out I was from Urbandale, suggested that Urbandale reach out to, and I'm not sure which group it is it the Bicycle Collective or B-Cycle, to see about getting the bike rental brought to Urbandale. I think here on City Hall campus would be a good location to have one of those. I don't know how to start that process or to see if it's.
We've had that discussion before. I'm trying to.
But I think in the we have such a great opportunity with this Route 4 that goes throughout the entire community, that I think encouraging people to ride their bike to Route 4 and get, put their bike on the bus. So I don't know, maybe this is another time to renew that discussion. I don't know who's the right person to do that, Bob or David, but I'd like to see us explore that. So that is all I have. But thanks for everyone for the 4th of July. It was another good year.
All right. Thanks, Bridget. Pat?
Sure, just a couple of things. I really want to thank and everybody for this special topics for information and discussion piece that really I think is meaningful. And I think tonight getting to have that interaction around the ordinance on the personal transportation devices, if I said that right, is really great, along with the other topics that were discussed. So I just really want to thank you for doing that. That's the kind of thing I was thinking we need to kind of stay in the loop on things. And then I didn't get my voice out like I should have fast enough on the owner-occupied piece with MIPA, or doing our own version of owner-occupied repair. And I just wanted to comment that I see that as a really important initiative related to sustainability, especially as it relates to weatherization. But so I'm hopeful. I kind of would like to back up Bridget's point as we move through that and see what the status is of those 18 who are on the list and learn that. There might be real opportunities to maybe beef this up a little bit and get pick up the pace on it. I'd really love to see us do that if we possibly could. And then I also meant to mention when I was thanking the chief that I really do like to support the hands-free concept that he's suggested for the ordinance. I think that's a really good idea. And otherwise, my comments are having a wonderful time. Wish you were here.
All right, thanks, Pat. Amy.
Just a plug. If you haven't been to the Music in the Parks We've been to 2 of them now, and they've just been really lovely. So there's 3 of them remaining that I'm aware of. July 21st after council, July 26th. It's not actually after council on the 21st. It would be lovely if it was after council and not during council. I believe there's a flute and harp duo that plays on July 26th. And then August.
That's a harp and guitar, pulling strings. We have 52 of them.
I love it. And then August 11th is the final one. And then I was just looking through my calendar. I realized I don't have National Night Out on my calendar. Do we know when that
It's
is?
the first Tuesday of,
Yeah, we changed the council meeting to Monday night that week because National Night is Tuesday. I think it's the fourth, maybe August, the fourth or fifth. I'd have to look.
It's the 4th,
The fourth,
I'm pretty sure.
council meeting's the third
yeah,
because of that.
yeah.
Okay.
National Night Out's the 4th, council's the 3rd.
Okay. I do not believe we have that on our calendar yet.
I think we do. I've got it.
You do? Okay. I don't have it added, so that's weird. Okay. What'd you just say? August 4th, sorry. And then I had someone ask if we should add bikes for the 4th of July. Our council float. So, or if we could add other people on bikes to go with us. Just throwing it out there. I'm not sure if it's wise, but I said I'd bring it up and left it at that. So like people to ride custom bikes with council. I said it might be wise just to get their own entry. But
Yeah. Let's talk.
yeah, yeah. I
Friends
was
of
like,
Urbandale.
yeah. I do think there's value in creating a program where we can invite kids to come throw candy with us.
Yep. All right. Joe?
Well, I attended the ice cream social. Mayor issued a proclamation, which was very nice. I also think it's wonderful how retired teachers are honored at that event. So congrats to the honorees. Ditto everything with the 4th of July. The committee does great work. The UPD does great work. Unfortunately, it was tarnished a little bit this year with the shots fired incident, and I'm sure there's gonna be discussion about what we can do, if anything, to try to mitigate that kind of problem in the future. And I wanted to mention, I've talked to the mayor and the city manager. There have been concerns in the public addressed about, that perhaps we could have issued a public statement a little sooner than we did. I think that's a valid concern, and I know it's being addressed now. And so I want people to know that concern has been heard and it's being addressed.
Yep. All right.
That's all I've got.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I can't say anything more than what we said about a great 4th of July. But truly, the overtime that goes in from our first responders to our public works to everybody, that it's a total team effort. So thank you for all the extra time and effort and overtime that went in through it to get it done. So from all our departments, I know everybody contributes to it. So thank you for that. All right, so we are at the end of our regular agenda. We do have one closed session item. Is there a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 21.51C regarding pending litigation?
So moved.
Second.
Kroll, second by Rosendahl. Discussion. Yes. Let's take a vote on this first. Please vote.
We voted. Got it.
All right, that passes, and we will reconvene at 7:40. We got 2 minutes here, so.
Agreement and release as discussed in closed session.
Okay, we need to go back into open session here first. So are we back?
We are back, and we are back to streaming.
Okay, so we are back. In our Urbandale City Council meeting from July 7, 2026, we just ended the closed session on item 13, and this is to confirm no actions were taken during the closed session other than to terminate the closed session. So we are on to item 14, which would be to consider the settlement agreement as discussed and laid out in the closed session. Correct? Anything further for that? So is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Any further discussion? Do you want to do this roll call, Angie, or do you have a? Okay,
Yes.
so please vote then.
Oh. I think I went out of the meeting. Nope, I got it.
That passes. All right. We are at the end of our agenda, so we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.